Yo! Made it. Hang on, my laptop's behind here. Smooth. They won't notice that, will they, Jim? Nah. All right, deeper game reviews. Let's get into the ones that we haven't quite gotten into yet. The Giants, the Giants 37, the shame-worthy Giants, the shameful Giants, we should say, 37 at the Cowboys 40. The Cowboys, that was their first win. They're 1-1. The Giants 0-2. And fellas, the last time that this game was given the ignominy of an early window time slot was 20 years ago. And boy, did both teams respond with a vengeance. They said, please don't put us on an early window again. We deserve primetime. One heck of a game. Incredible. Overtime thriller. Peak 2013 Russell Wilson for his new team. The Giants, as we said, put up 500 yards of offense for the first time since 2014. And they still lose. They still lose. Over 500 yards and they still lose. Like we said, the one big Russ mistake happened at the end when he bit off more than he could chew, the very worst time. And then it was Brandon Aubrey's golden mule boot that sunk the dagger into the Giants. So, Dos, why don't we start with you? Your reflections on this one. It's there were so many key events in this that it's hard to know where to start with the recap. But how did you interpret, I guess, the Cowboys in their final moments and the Giants in their capitulation?
I'm glad you made the prime time reference because that was the first note I had, was the one time that they're not on prime time they put on this performance, because usually it's garbage on Sunday night football or Monday night football between these two teams, or it has been of recent times. 41 combined points in the last quarter, 17 points in the last 52 seconds of regulation, and then 5 combined possessions in overtime. Like, it is wild. And Russ was hitting on every deep ball until that last moon ball.
Yeah.
Malik Nabers looked awesome. He was catching everything. Wan'Dale Robinson, and Russ was ripping it. He went throws over 20 yards. He was 7 for 11, 264 yards, 3 touchdowns, and of course that one interception right at the end of the game. But if I look at the Cowboys side of things against that Giants offense, they got some concerns, Kurt, and that secondary.
Yeah.
Like, I know Deron Bland's injured, and they went pretty well against the Eagles, but far out, Malik Nabers, he was burning Trayvon Diggs. And, the Cowboys were playing like 98% zone coverage, but they were all over the place, and it was like they didn't understand the schematic at all. And Russ was just throwing the ball between the safety, straight down the middle. And the thing that I found interesting, fellas, was Washington last week brought the heat, brought the blitz against that Giants offensive line, which looked bad. And Russ had no time. He got smashed last week against the Commanders. Eberflus only blitzed Russ 7 times on 45 dropbacks. There was no pressure from the Dallas pass rush at all, considering what the Commanders did the week before. But luckily for Dallas, they have Dak Prescott, who loves playing the Giants. 14 straight wins now versus the Giants, which is an insane win streak when you think about it. And outside of that ugly pick early on, we saw why when it comes down to just pure passing, that's where Dak Prescott excels in a game like this, just up and down the field.
That's right.
Like, he will make the tight throws. That throw to George Pickens, which set up the field goal, or the game-winning field goal, was absolutely amazing. So we got to see the CD Pickens Dak show against a very ordinary, or both teams' secondaries are very ordinary, but it was a good, fun game, and that suited Dallas, that type of game.
It did. And we saw, like I said, the really good Russ and the Russ that you think for the Giants are. That's why Jackson Dart is not playing just yet. But still, there were crucial errors when it mattered. There was the one that he fumbled by himself, and there was the missed throw with Wan'Dale Robinson, who had a breakout game, the best game of his career by far, but he sort of misread the route. He slowed down too early, the misunderstanding. There's that stuff. And then, as we said, the Donovan Wilson pickoff as well for the Cowboys. If you're to take a big positive from this game for the Giants, it's the connection between Wilson and Nabers, because that's the one thing that just has to be there, right? And it was there. It was there. Nabers was absolutely massive. He had 2 touchdowns, 167 yards, was it? I haven't got it in front of me, but huge game, and he looked incredible. Even that touchdown late, it was basically a face mask. He got his helmet ripped and turned, and he still takes it in two hands. The touchdown earlier in the game was an incredible contested catch as well. So he was flying. That connection was there. But it was Aubrey again, a 64-yard field goal to send it to overtime. And these are opportunities that the Giants give you, right? And it's not much of an opportunity for many teams when it's 64 yards, but when it's Brandon Aubrey, you can't give him that. They even said, Schottenheimer, the head coach, said afterwards, we would have gone for the field goal from 70. We trust him from 70-ish. That's how good this guy is. Sure enough, ties it, 37-37, sends it to overtime. And then there's all these little things that lead to the 46-yard field goal winner from Aubrey at the end. So, Holy, I know you're ecstatic because Cam Scatterboo scored. The human marble he started to roll. There was that, and there was Jackson Dart that came in for one play, and you got excited. You thought they were replacing Russ, who was on 480 yards at the time.
Oh, I couldn't believe it. I thought this is the stupidest move I've ever seen. But yeah, Kurt, I was very happy with Cam, the human marble. RB1 now in New York. He's the man out there.
Is that confirmed?
This game was genuinely a fantasy football player's dream. There were 4 players over 100 yards, 7 different touchdown scorers, 800 yards of catchable offense, 7 of 7 field goals with obviously the 64-yarder, which is worth a bucket load of points in fantasy football. It was just it was a fun game for someone like me who loves offense. Doss didn't enjoy it as much, being a defensive lover, but this is something I absolutely loved this game, and I loved it because Russ 30 of 41 for 450 and 3 TDs. Now I know you talk about a couple little errors that he made here and there, but if your quarterback's putting up 450 yards and 3 TDs, you can generally allow for a couple of errors because you'd imagine that your defense can hold the opposition to below 30 points once every now and then. But in saying that, I think the Cowboy offense is actually looking okay this year. I know week 1 they were driving the ball really well before the Lightning hit. Once they came out after the Lightning, CD's hands turned to bricks, couldn't catch anything. If that wasn't the case, then that offense is still firing, and they were even a chance to win week 1 if CD took a couple of grabs late, which usually he would. And now week 2 they've put up 400 yards of offense. So that Cowboy offense is moving. The defense just needs to keep up if they want to have a little crack at playoffs this year.